let me ask you a basic question to begin with here. How are you doing, man?
I've been getting a lot of threats from far right-leaning groups since this event occurred. People are trying to identify where I live. They're trying to identify past employers. People are posting things on Twitter calling me a terrorist and a leader of Antifa and BLM. People are shouting things at me in public. So, it's pretty tiring times.
People are shouting things at you in public, like if you go out?
Yeah, a lot of people have recognized me. There's, a lot of stuff posting around on social media. There's a lot of different groups who are, saying I'm responsible and I'm some sort of crisis actor and that it was staged with Denver 9 and that I knew the shooter and that you guys were interviewing me earlier in the day and that we were walking around together, and there's all these, conspiracy theories and hate mail that I'm getting and threats against me and against my life. I've set up a GoFundMe for security. My safety is just, constantly in danger now since this has happened.
You mentioned that one thing about, because we've heard the same rumors as well too. Let me just ask you that first. Did you know the journalist from 9 News or any journalist from 9 News?
I have not ever associated myself in any way with the 9 News broadcasting company, no.
Did you talk to anybody from 9 News out there that day?
I don't want to talk too much about what occurred earlier in that day, just in terms of what I was doing earlier in that day. I want to talk about the events that occurred.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right leading up to it.
No, absolutely. That's my next question for you. I just want to make sure, though, because people are saying this kind of, that we're, not we, but that 9 News and you are connected. I just want to make sure that you had no, I don't want to, let me ask it like this. Do you have any connection with 9 News, or did you that day? Or Matthew Dolloff?
I have no connection to Matthew Dolloff. I've never met him before. I hadn't seen him before that day. That day he started to threaten me with violence. The day he decided to both attack me and the news crew. I think the reason why the news crew was attacked is because they were there filming a story. The story was just, this event, this Patriot mustard that was going on. And that reporter was being attacked because he was filming an attack on me that was going to happen.
Tell me about.
He didn't want that to be caught on film. I think you guys caught that pretty clear on film, where he comes after the cameraman and said, "This is no place for cameras." Shortly before that, he made threats to me. He put his hand to his head. He said he was going to shoot me. And, people want to say I'm the antagonizer, but I wasn't armed. I didn't have any weapons. I was by myself. I'm not a leader of any organization. And again, since this has happened, I'm the one receiving death threats. I'm the one seeing, hate mail. I'm the one, working on getting security measures and things in place. So.
And I want to ask you more about that, but I think you misconstrued the names. Matthew Dolloff is a security guard who was contracted to 9 News. Lee Keltner is the guy that
Lee Keltner is the shooting victim. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no. So.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeremiah. What sparked the argument with Lee Keltner?
Lee Keltner was with several other men who you see in a video approach me, who were armed.
How do you know they were armed?
They made verbal threats that they were armed. He verbally motioned with his hand. They brandished in the video. You can see him brandishing, one of them brandishing a baton that they uncollapsed, and a knife in his hand. And the gentleman who was shot, was brandishing that mace as he was approaching me. He made threats of having a gun.
So tell me again, Jeremiah, what sparked that argument? Were you walking and somebody said something? Did you see somebody? How were words initially exchanged, man?
I was out in Denver expressing, my rights. I was expressing my opinions. I was one person who was unarmed by myself. They chose to approach me. They chose to surround me. You see me taking several steps back in the video and pivoting on my back foot. And at one point I say, I'm going to stand my ground. At that point, they're continuing to approach me with weapons, and then they step away and attack, Denver 9 News.
Did they approach you, or did you approach them, or who said something?
They approached me. In the video, you can see me backing away and them continuing to approach me.
What did they say when they first approached you?
It was a very heated confrontation verbally. I'm not sure exactly what words were exchanged originally.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the videos, but none of the videos start when it all starts. All the videos begin like once the argument's underway, and I couldn't nail down what caused it to start. Why you stopped with them, or they stopped with you, or what happened?
I believe the original comment was something whether are you a real patriot or not. I don't know what the initial reason why he chose to stop and talk to me was.
And you said at one point he suggested that he might escalate it.
Yeah, I mean, he made threats of violence against me, and then he exacted physical violence against, one of your reporters, and your security, luckily was there and stepped in. Glad Denver News is out there. Yeah.
Did you see a firearm on Lee Keltner?
I didn't see a firearm on Lee Keltner, no, but it was my belief that he had a firearm from the threats he made and his posturing.
And why did you think that? What did he say that made you believe that?
Just the visual threat, and then he said he was going to shoot me. You can see him in the video reaching several times. He's doing a lot of posturing as if he had a firearm.
Any idea? Had you seen him earlier in the day? Any idea why he was maybe agitated or?
I can't speak to his means, but of what he was doing out there. But it looks like he wanted to interact violently with me, and then he wanted to interact violently with the media for filming his attack and his assault on me. And it's a continued assault from the right since this incident occurred, to continue to attack on me. Continued death threats. They don't like my opinions, so they threaten me, my previous employers, things of that nature.
Well, why were you out there that day?
I was just outside in Denver.
Well, I mean, were you attending the Patriot Muster, or were you at something else?
I was just walking around downtown Denver that day.
With that Black Guns Matter shirt on?
That was just a shirt in my closet.
All right. What's your reaction, Jeremiah, to the charges that were announced against the security guard named Matthew Dolloff?
I think Matthew Dolloff is a hero. I think he stepped in between what could have been ultimately a much more violent attack by that gentleman. I think he acted completely in self-defense, and I think all those charges are unwarranted, and I'm most sure that he will be found not guilty on all charges.
Did you actually see the shooting when Lee Keltner walked away from you?
So the confrontation that happened with me and him, he stepped away, and 8 seconds later, the confrontation happened in less than 8 seconds. It was a very quick confrontation. It was a violent one. Lee Keltner chose to have a violent confrontation, and it ended poorly for him. He found out in a very terrible way what happens when you do those things.
Did you actually see the shooting though, or had you?
The shooting happened directly behind me. So in the video, you see him walk away from me and go to assault the news protester, and it's directly to my peripheral that he shot. I saw Lee Keltner's body fall, and I saw the reporter shoot him dead center and between his eyes. It's a great shot.
Why did you want to speak to us?
I just wanted to get it out there that the violence is really coming from the right, and that these charges are unwarranted. That reporter's life was in danger. That security guard acted in self-defense. The violence is really coming from the right, and my life is in danger, just like those reporters were that day. These patriot musters are violent. And I think the organizer of it, really wants to say that I was an antagonizer and caused this violence, but I was one man standing alone in the face of hundreds of men who were armed to the teeth with visible weapons threatening me. I was by myself. I wasn't the leader of any organization, and I wasn't armed in any way. I was briefly detained at the scene, and no weapons were found on me because I wasn't carrying any weapons, and I intended no violence on anyone. I was attacked. I'm still being attacked. Those reporters were attacked, and that security guard acted in self-defense, and he'll be found not guilty.
So police detained you as they're trying to get a handle on what all was going on. They obviously didn't charge you with anything because we haven't. Only charges are Matthew Dolloff. Did they consider you a witness? What happened once you were in police detention, man? What'd they ask you?
I don't want to speak to specific questionings and litigation of anything going on towards that. Obviously, it's a open homicide investigation. So
we were going through some of the footage. A lot of other photographers who were out there, not 9 News, just other photographers, have been sharing videos before the confrontation happened. And there was one shot of you walking across the street. I recognize your shirt, with a group of men who are all, wearing tactical gear and things like that. Were you part of that group?
So I'm walking around. You see me walking around. There's several pictures of me with the news reporter and his security guard too. There's several pictures with me with everyone that's happened when you walk around in a crowded event that's filmed. So I was alone, as I said previously. I was unarmed, and I came by myself. I was not a part of any group or organization, no.
Looking back, Jeremiah, how would you have handled this differently, or would you have?
Excuse me?
Looking back at all this that happened last Saturday, how would you have handled the situation differently, or would you have?
Someone was shot and killed due to a poor decision that they made by attacking a news reporter for your station. They found out in the worst way what happens when you assault an individual with deadly force. That was a decision that Lee Keltner made. That decision isn't on me.
And you didn't know any of the other men who were with him either?
No, I am not affiliated with any of those groups, and I wasn't affiliated with anyone there. I was by myself.
Okay. Anything? You mentioned the GoFundMe also. Is there a GoFundMe that we should share?
Yeah. So I've started a safety fund, Jeremiah Elliot Safety Fund. I'm working on getting some security. I've been getting a lot of threats from the right wingers are really upset and trying to label me as the reason why this violence occurred. But it was very clear that I was unarmed, and I didn't do anything wrong. That these men chose to antagonize me and attack me and assault your news.
Yeah. And so your GoFundMe is the Jeremiah Safety Fund. Is that what you said it is?
It's Jeremiah Elliot Safety Fund. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeremiah Elliot Safety.
So I've started a GoFundMe to work on my safety. There's, a lot of threats that are coming around from this. People are trying to blame me for this and say that, I'm responsible for this. But again, I'm one person who's surrounded by hundreds of, patriots mustered together who are armed to the teeth, visibly with weapons, batons, and knives, making threats against my life, attacking reporters, trying to block off reporters from seeing the violence that they're trying to enact on me and others. So, there was police feet away when all of this occurred. The police had eyes on me the entire time I was there. This man chose to assault me, chose to assault our news company. They chose to do this violence, and that's the reason why this man, is no longer here.
2 last questions, just so I can explain it better. You're not originally from Colorado, but you've been out here a while, is that right?
No, I'm not originally from Colorado, no.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for a few years now.
Okay. And are you still in the security business yourself?
Yeah, I'm still working in a security manner. I'm no longer working in an armed security fashion, but I am working for a security company inside Denver.
Okay. And just to make sure I'm clear, I just want to ask this. Have you ever performed any security work at all for 9 News?
No, I've never done any security for 9 News.
Okay. And did you ever work with Matthew Dolloff in any security capacity, colleague, rival, anything like that?
I don't want to speak too much to that. These are questions they're going to be asking me in a ongoing homicide investigation, but I don't, I've worked for many security companies in the past, and I don't want
Okay.
to say anything that might be.
Have you already had your interview with DPD detectives?
Yeah, I don't want to.
Okay,
I don't
no
want to
worries.
say too much about.
No, I got you. Hey, I appreciate you taking a minute. Anything else you can think of you'd like to add or point out that we haven't already asked you?
I just want to point out the violence that's coming over, towards my direction for the incidents that occurred on Saturday.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, man, I appreciate you taking a minute. You have my email address and my cell phone. So if there's something else you can think of, hit me up. Let me know.
All right.
Take care of yourself.